If you've ever found yourself caught in a relationship with someone that you love to hate and hate to love, you may be in the anxious avoidant trap. This is a situation in which partners with an anxious attachment style and an avoidant or fearful avoidant attachment style find themselves both deeply attracted to and repelled by one another. In this video, we are going to examine 6 signs of the anxious avoidant trap and 6 tips on how to stop a spiral of conflict and defensive behavior before it starts. So by the end of this video, you will go from confused to clear about the anxious avoidant trap and if you are trapped in it or not. You will feel relieved to know that the anxious avoidant trap is the result of 2 insecure attachment styles colliding, and it's not necessarily all your fault. And you will be empowered with the 6 tips to stop the anxious avoidant trap from happening in your relationship in the first place. So make sure you grab a pen and paper and stick with me until the end because you are going to want to take notes. Now, before we get into it, if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Briana MacWilliam, and I am a licensed and board-certified creative arts therapist with more than 15 years in the field, helping adults struggling with insecure attachment go from self-doubting to self-sovereign so they can attract the soul-shaking, passionate partnerships that they want. And I do this using a psycho-spiritual approach to creative arts interventions, which I call the MacWilliam method. The content on my YouTube channel is derived from my online courses, which you can learn more about through the link in the caption of this video. If you would like to learn more about your attachment style, you can take the 4-question quiz. If you like what you see and hear and you want to learn more, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So let's dive into our topic for today. To start, what are attachment styles? In exploring the anxious avoidant trap, it is important to know that attachment styles are learned in childhood. They are based on the way that we are treated by our caregivers. If you're not familiar with attachment theory and what attachment styles are in general, I highly recommend checking out my other videos on the topic, specifically my playlist on attachment basics. But essentially, there are 4 different attachment styles: secure, anxious, dismissive avoidant, and fearful avoidant, sometimes called disorganized attachment. People with a secure attachment style feel confident and comfortable in relationships. They trust that their needs will be met, and they don't worry about being abandoned or rejected. People with a dismissive avoidant attachment style tend to be emotionally distant and disconnected in relationships. They don't really open up or share their feelings, and they often bury their emotions instead of dealing with them because it was too scary or threatening at one point. And finally, people with fearful avoidant attachment style or disorganized attachment style tend to swing back and forth between wanting closeness and intimacy and feeling scared and overwhelmed by it. They might find themselves drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable because on some level they feel like they're not worthy of love and connection. So what is the anxious avoidant trap? So what happens when someone with an anxious attachment style gets together with someone that has an avoidant or fearful avoidant attachment style? Well, usually they wind up in the anxious avoidant trap. And in my experience, this presents itself in one of 2 conditions. Now, in the first condition, one person always plays the role of the runner or the mouse, and the other plays the role of the chaser or the cat. And this is most likely to happen when one partner is definitely anxious and the other partner is definitely dismissive avoidant. Now, in the second condition, one person always plays the role of the runner or the mouse, and the other person plays the role of the chaser or the cat until the mouse stops running and surrenders to being caught. Suddenly, the cat doesn't know what to do with itself or this unexpected emotional availability, so now it takes off running and becomes the mouse instead. So this is when we see push-pull roller coaster dynamics emerging, where the partners start to switch off playing these different roles. And it's most likely to occur when one or both partners have a disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style. Why does this happen? Well, the anxious person feels unsettled and worried that the relationship isn't secure, while the avoidant person feels smothered and constricted by the anxious person's neediness. The fearfully avoidant partner may go back and forth, struggling with both of these impulses, usually because they have suffered some kind of emotional trauma in their past. Because of the intensity and the energetic momentum surrounding their insecurity and their ambivalence, these folks often wind up polarizing their partners in one direction or another as they struggle with their own chaotic feelings. In these relationships, the more whomever is playing the anxious role tries to get the avoidant partner to open up and depend on them, the more the avoidant person feels smothered and pulls away. In the end, both partners wind up feeling hurt, frustrated, and alone. So let's look at 6 signs of the anxious avoidant trap. Number 1, an emotional token economy. Now, both insecure attachment styles are preoccupied with deriving a precarious sense of security through controlling their external conditions. And this extends to controlling the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of their partners. For example, anxious partners implement protest behaviors to try to reestablish connection in an insecure relationship. And this might include things like excessive contact followed by a punitive withdrawal, keeping score in the relationship, acting hostile, various forms of emotional manipulation, and things like that. Avoidant partners, on the other hand, will exert a sense of control by practicing detachment and using deactivating strategies. And these might include verbally expressing an avoidant of commitment but then acting committed, verbally expressing a desire to commit but then acting in an uncommitted way, focusing on the flaws in a partner, pining for the one that got away so as to avoid emotional intimacy in a current relationship. They may also demonstrate hyper or hyposexuality. Now, both partners implement these strategies as tokens or power plays to determine who has more emotional control in the economy of the relationship. If you want to learn more about this, check out my video, How to Fix an Anxious Avoidant Relationship and When to Leave. So the next sign we're going to look at is stable instability. The relationship may last for a long time, but an element of uncertainty persists. You could be together on the surface and in name, but the emotional and mental connection just isn't there. Or you may have more extreme highs and lows that are reinforced by intermittent acts of intimacy, and these are usually followed by bouts of self-sabotage. Thirdly, we have pointless fighting. You may feel that you're constantly fighting about things that you should not be fighting about at all. The arguments may be centered around something concrete and seemingly unimportant, but really are functioning as metaphors for the level of intimacy, or lack thereof, between you. For example, feeling irritated when your partner ignores your request to roll the toothpaste in a certain way could blow up into an argument that's really about feeling as if your partner has no regard for your feelings whatsoever. Number 4, you are perceived as the enemy. And this is because attachment wounds stem back to an early phase of childhood when we see the world and everyone in it as either good or bad, law-abiding or law-breaking. In our partnerships, that emotional reasoning often gets stimulated, and we project that early good-bad way of sorting things onto our partners. If our partners are nice to us, they are good, and we must be good. If our partners are mean to us, they must be bad, intending to hurt us, and or we did something to deserve it, and therefore we must be bad too and make it right. In the case of anxious person, the more connected you become to an avoidant partner, the more they are going to project onto you all of their needy parts that they disliked and rejected within themselves. And then they'll feel smothered and repulsed by you as a result of it. But they will still also feel attracted to you for that very same reason, because your emotional fire and effusiveness is enlivening for them, and they get to experience what they have often dismissed or rejected within themselves. Now, if you are the avoidant partner, you will find that the closer you get to your partner, the more they will rely on you for their happiness and look to your good feelings to stimulate their good feelings, and therefore prove a sense of rightness and goodness about themselves. This is because they feel more comfortable and secure with very loose, if non-existent, boundaries between you. In other words, they will dislike whatever reinforces your autonomy and experience it as a rejection or an abandonment. They do not like being separated from you. Now, this is the paradox of the anxious avoidant trap, that the closer you become, the less you will be able to actually see each other for who the other really is, as opposed to your own self-projections. Fantasy plays a huge role in this, which I do discuss in other videos. As a result, when there is friction in the relationship, an immature black and white thinking gets stimulated, and you tend to adopt the opinion that all goodness you perceived in your partner was a sham, and suddenly they become a malicious enemy intent on hurting you. Then you start fighting below the belt, unable to stop yourself from saying or doing things out of spite that you know you'll later regret. And if it doesn't work out, then you become convinced that they never loved you at all and everything you shared just doesn't count. Number 5, feeling trapped. When you think about it rationally and logically, you know the relationship is not good for you, but you are too connected or addicted to the other person to leave. Anxious people tend to tell themselves, this is the love of my life. If I can't make it work with them, I will never find another person that makes me feel this way. And so they trap themselves into something that they know isn't working because they can't get past the idea that everything they have invested has to pay off at some point. Now, avoidant individuals tend to feel trapped by the emotional dependency and what they consider to be the high and insatiable expectations of their anxious partners. They start to feel like their freedom is being restricted. They feel incapable of meeting the obligations of deep intimacy, which means relationships are just a setup for failure. That's usually why they also prefer to avoid labeling relationships. It helps them to avoid the high expectations that a status change in the relationship usually inspires in an anxious partner. Number 6, the roller coaster effect. In the relationship, you never feel as if you're on an even keel. Every once in a while, when the avoidant partner makes themselves available to the anxious partner's attachment system is quieted, and there is the achievement of an extreme sense of closeness, which is quite literally a high experienced in the same parts of the brain as ingestive addictions. This will inevitably freak the avoidant partner out because, remember, for them, closeness equals a loss of freedom or weakness, and that will cause the avoidant partner to withdraw or implement those deactivating strategies. This again stimulates the anxious person's activating strategies, and up and down we go, endlessly riding that roller coaster. So let's talk about 6 tips to bust out of the anxious avoidant trap. Now, if you find yourself caught in the trap, here are 6 tips to stop that spiral before it starts. Number 1, check your expectations. One of the quickest ways to de-escalate the anxious avoidant trap is to check your expectations. When we have high or unreasonable expectations of our partners, it puts a lot of pressure on them and creates an environment where they feel the need to withdraw or be defensive. For example, an unreasonable need could sound like, I need you to be available to me 24/7. I need you to always be in the mood for sex. I need you to never get upset with me. I need you to anticipate my needs without my having to say anything. Now, when we have more reasonable expectations, it can allow our partners the space to be human and imperfect without feeling the need to withdraw or be defensive. So, for example, a reasonable need could sound like, I need you to return my calls within 24 hours. I need you to initiate sex at least once or twice a week. I need you to be able to openly share your thoughts and feelings with me. I need you to be specific about how I can contribute to your needs without assuming full responsibility for them. Equally, it's totally normal and healthy for a partner to express their needs appropriately and invite you to participate in meeting them. That is what builds emotional intimacy and bonding. If you fail to expect that your partner will have perfectly normal needs for intimacy, or you expect that you will always fail at any attempt to meet them, then that can lead to a lot of hurt feelings and disappointment. If you find yourself getting caught in the anxious avoidant trap, take a step back and just check your own expectations. Are you expecting too much from this relationship or from your partner? Are you not expecting enough? Number 2, communicate openly and honestly. Clear communication is key in any relationship, but it is especially important in a relationship prone to the anxious avoidant trap. For anxious folks, if you are feeling anxious or insecure in the relationship, communicate that directly, without blame or criticism. Tell your partner what you're feeling and why, using proper feeling words, as opposed to words that are more about an evaluation of somebody else's behavior. So, for example, I feel rejected is an evaluation of how someone else is responding to you. It's not a real feeling word or statement. I feel lonely, hurt, frustrated, sad, despondent, or hopeless. These are all examples of real feeling words because they describe the energetic experience you're having inside your own mind and body. If your partner has asked for space, let them know that you understand their need for space, but that you also need some reassurance, and be very clear about what that reassurance looks like in word and in action. So it might sound something like this. I get that you need your space and I'm willing to give that to you, but I struggle with anxiety and worry, and it would really put me at ease to know at what day and time you will reach out again. Equally, if you are more avoidant and you have an anxious partner that needs a lot more time and attention and you need to express a need for space, the same advice applies. Use real feeling words and be specific. I'm feeling an internal pressure and disconnection from myself. I know that I need some time and space alone to get back to my center so that I can be the best version of myself in this relationship. I'm going to take 2 days by myself to regroup and will contact you on Thursday by 6 p.m. Now you can learn all the tips and tricks for communication there are, but ultimately it is up to the other person to be doing the inner work so that they can learn how to receive what you are communicating without taking it personally and responding defensively. Because you could say something exactly right with full honesty, no blaming involved, and they are still going to feel triggered. Now that's not something that you can control or fix for somebody else. So remember, when you learn to become a good communicator, you're not becoming a magician. What you are becoming is a fact finder. You are figuring out just exactly how possible it is to have a compatible relationship with someone, unburdened by miscommunications or defensive posturing. Because if you learn how to clean up your communication and the person still responds in a triggered way, they're not able to meet you where you're at. And that is the information that you now have once and for all. It may or may not be a truth that you are willing to face or take action on right away, but it is the truth nonetheless. And that is why some people avoid learning new ways of communicating because they are afraid of what they might find. Number 3, create some space. Now, if you find yourself getting caught in the trap, realize that creating space for yourself may be exactly what you need, even if you are an anxious partner that is upset that your avoidant partner is asking for more space. In any normal and healthy relationship, spending time apart from your partner and doing things that make you feel good independently is essential to maintaining your mental and emotional balance and equilibrium. Focus on taking care of yourself and on building up your own self-esteem. If you struggle with taking space or being alone, there are a few questions to get you started. So, what would you need to be doing in order to find your life more interesting than your partner's? What's on your bucket list? And if you don't have one, make one. If you were the protagonist of your own epic story, what characteristics would you want to have? And here's a hint, it's likely to be the characteristics that you admire in your sweetheart. Once you get a head start on answering these questions, map out a plan of action to manifest each one in your life, just as it is. This shifts the energy from chasing to attracting. This will also help you to be less dependent on your partner for validation and reassurance, and will ultimately make the relationship stronger. Number 4, be patient. Now, the anxious avoidant trap can be a frustrating experience, but it's also important to be patient. For example, if you're an avoidant partner that tends to create too much space while running away from difficult conversations, you're missing out on the best parts of a relationship. Research on secure relationships tells us that when you can be patient and ride out the difficult and uncomfortable feelings in a conflict and manage to repair with your partner, it leads to deeper feelings of safety, connection, and intimacy between you. Bravely challenging decades of conditioning from childhood trauma, disarming protective internalized defense mechanisms, and learning new emotional vocabulary won't happen overnight. But if you're able to be patient and work through those difficulties, the relationship can become much healthier and far more fulfilling. Number 5, seek professional help. If you find that you're struggling to break free from the trap on your own, it might be helpful to seek professional help. A therapist can help you to understand the dynamics of the trap and can offer specific advice on how to break free from it. A therapist can also help you to see the situation from a totally different perspective, and that can be very helpful in finding new solutions. Additionally, they can help you to work through any underlying issues that may be contributing to the trap, such as unresolved trauma, attachment insecurity, or communication difficulties. Modalities that work really well and directly with the body and its nervous system are usually highly effective for going from an insecure position to a secure one. These might include EMDR protocols, sensory motor psychotherapy, somatic experiencing, brain spotting, kinesthesiology, and of course creative arts therapies, which is the approach that I use with the MacWilliam method. And lastly, number 6, be gentle with yourself. Finally, it's important to be gentle with yourself as you work to break free from the anxious avoidant trap. This is not an easy process, and there will likely be setbacks along the way. Realize that the chemistry involved with these relationships mirrors the effect of ingestive addictions. And so if you have decided to end this relationship, it's important to realize that you are basically kicking an addiction. Now, some people can go cold turkey, but many cannot. Realize that the high you are craving is love and connection. So put those resources in place for when you decide to leave. Be clear about what persons, places, and things will trigger your craving for that specific partner. And make sure that you have access to healthier forms of connection and support while you go through painful physical and emotional withdrawals. If you relapse, that's okay. Take it one step at a time. If you're able to be patient and gentle with yourself, you can ultimately create a much healthier and more satisfying relationship in the future. To learn more about this, I invite you to check out my video, Love Addiction and No Contact. Does it work? If there were an inspirational message that I wanted to leave you with here today, it is this. The anxious avoidant trap is not all your fault. This is a situation that often arises out of the insecurity of early attachment wounding, and this is usually transmitted intergenerationally. But it is now your responsibility to become aware of how both of you are contributing to the nature and the quality of the relationship, and to take conscious and intentional action on improving the way that you show up to that relationship. It is possible to break free from the trap and to create a more secure and satisfying relationship, but only if both partners are ready to value and prioritize each other's needs as highly as they do their own, and sit through some pretty painful deprogramming. Gaining clarity around your true inner feelings, creating boundaries around them, and communicating them effectively are great first steps. But remember, you can only ever become a better fact finder, not a magician. If you accomplish all these things and your partner still responds in a defensive manner, they're not able to meet you where you're at. And now you have some choices about what kind of relationship you are willing to make yourself available for and not. That is a wonderfully empowered place to be. Now, if you are in the anxious avoidant trap, or you have ever been in the trap, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. What was your experience and what helped you to break free? Thank you so much for watching.